Okay, so as some of you might know, I'm working on a life-size Mandalorian bust budget build video. I'm going to keep it as budget as I can while still doing a life-size bust. The bust is not done, still working, but one of the accessories for it is. We're going to talk about this today, the parts, and putting it together. Let's get after it. So when I started working on the Mando bust, I knew that I wanted some accessories to go along with it. Just a few little things I thought would make a big difference. One of them was that I really wanted the stock of the pulse rifle, the Faux pulse rifle that Mando carries. So I looked at a few different resin kits. I knew I was only going to use this back half, and I was trying to figure out how can we do this cheap and stay with our budget build kind of theme. So this is actually a Rubies plastic costume blaster prop. Super cheap. I think it's like 28 bucks. To be honest, it should be priced even less than that given what it's made out of. But it was like 28 bucks. You're not going to find parts for much cheaper. Now you'll notice this is actually a little undersized, and that tends to be one of the things that happens with blasters from Rubies. They're somewhere between full scale and half scale. They're caught in this middle ground. The way we're using this, displaying this piece just behind the shoulder of the bust, and you're really only going to see the stock, I think it's going to work out great. If I was to make this stock out of wood from scratch, which you could do, it would be significantly larger. But again, as a background prop, I think it works. Other than the size, it's actually a really great piece to work from if you're looking for something cheap. It's perfect for a little accessory piece like this. So as you can see, the blaster comes, when you purchase it, it comes in a few parts that snap together. Once they snap together, they're really hard to get apart. So if you're going to paint it, you want to paint that thing before assembly. In my case, we ran the middle section through the bandsaw and trimmed it to a height that would allow the butt stock to get over Mando's shoulder. Because on our life-size bust, his shoulder comes to about here, and we'll be able to drop this behind it. So what you're going to need if you want to do this build, you're going to need that Rubies Blaster. You're going to need some metal bolts or old spare hardware that you can use to weight the bottom of this thing a little bit. You're going to need something to make a little base out of. Now for me, I had some spare IKEA cabinet feet that were not in use, and these ended up being perfect. I used two of them on the bottom to create kind of a wider base, and then I added little rubber feet so that this thing can't move around, and they worked out awesome. So trimmed the gun, assembled it, it's glued in place on those, and then I used some like 4-inch hex bolts that I had, and I glued those up in this bottom chamber here just to give a little bit of weight to the bottom of this thing so it's not very likely to tip over. I think I used like 6 or 7 of them, but really any spare hardware is going to work, but you're going to want to give a little bit of weight to the bottom in this unless you make a larger base. For me and my cabinets, I needed a small base to keep this thing sized right to fit behind that bust. So the blaster, this is one of the original parts that was not used, the fork from the front. This is how it comes. It's painted white and orange. It's quite hideous and looks like a toy because it is. So you're going to discard this piece. This next section here is where the cut occurred. So you can see if we were to line this up, something like that. I did lay down my base paint before I clipped everything together and assembled it. I went ahead and laid down a faux wood grain. This is really easy to do. There are a ton of tutorials on YouTube on doing this. You're essentially dragging thin, wispy layers of paint in different shades to create this kind of grained wood grain effect. The metal finish is done with graphite powder. I don't know if I've done a video on that yet, but it's essentially like pencil lead shavings polished into a flat black paint and then clear coated, and it gives a nice kind of satin metallic silver feel. You can always go back in and add a little bit more of that graphite powder over your clear coat if you want to bring some of that metallic, that really good metallic sheen back. Then the whole thing is, there's some little bit of gold metallic detail paint in there, and then some edge work with a silver Sharpie and a Malto liquid chrome pen. this is a really simple build. And if you're going to do a Mando like helmet display or a Mando bust like I'm building, it's a great accessory that you can do for like less than 30 bucks all in. And it's pretty quick. So fun build. I know this is a short video, but I just thought I would share and hopefully inspire you guys and put a little teaser out there for the budget build of the Mandalorian bust, which is coming soon. I will try to share a little bit of behind the scenes of it coming together, but really that video is going to focus on breaking down the parts involved, where I sourced them from, and the total budget for putting that thing together. So I'm excited. Consider this a teaser, and we'll catch you guys next time. Later. Bye.